First of all, I'm old, so I've received a lot of advice. Second of all, I'm so old that people have stopped giving me advice. So I'm the one giving advice at this point. The best way to feel fabulous in general is to really be true to yourself.
Once, she was the face of Hollywood perfection, an Oscar winner at 26, Brad Pitt's fiancée, the woman every magazine called flawless. Then suddenly, Gwyneth Paltrow became a punchline, a meme, a wellness weirdo. And for millions of people, she became one of the most hated women in pop culture. But how does that happen? How does Hollywood's favorite golden girl turn into a walking controversy? Was it a fall from grace or a trap she was never meant to escape? Because what they don't tell you is, fame loves to lift you up, but it loves tearing you down even more. And if you're a woman with an opinion, a brand, or a boundary, that spotlight turns into a microscope. This is not just a story about Gwyneth. This is a story about power, backlash, and what happens when a woman dares to change the rules after she wins the game. She didn't just lose Hollywood's love. She lost her father, her privacy, and the public's respect. But somehow she didn't lose herself. This is Bioscoop, and in the next 30 minutes, we'll uncover the real story behind Gwyneth Paltrow's rise, her rejection, and her billion-dollar reinvention. From red carpets to ridicule, from fairy tale romances to tabloid takedowns, our research goes deeper than headlines. These are the facts, the quotes, and the hidden moments that shaped the woman the world thought they knew. If stories like this make you feel something, hit subscribe not for us, but for you. Because the next time we unpack another misunderstood star, you'll be right here when the truth drops.
Before the red carpets, before the tabloids, before the billion-dollar wellness brand, there was just a girl born into the kind of family people dream about. Her name was Gwyneth Kate Paltrow, born September 27th, 1972, in Los Angeles, but raised in New York, the city where stories are born. Her father, Bruce, was a successful television director. Her mother, Blythe Danner, was an Emmy-winning actress. To the outside world, Gwyneth was Hollywood royalty by birthright. But behind the curtain, being the daughter of famous people didn't always feel like a blessing. Imagine trying to make friends in school when your mom's on Broadway, or walking into auditions and wondering if every compliment is real, or just politeness toward Bruce's daughter. For Gwyneth, expectation was the air she breathed. Perfection was the price of admission. She studied art history at UC Santa Barbara, but dropped out at 20 to pursue acting full-time. And just like that, she started landing roles. Small ones at first, like Brad Pitt's wife in Seven, but within just a few years, she became a household name. The Breakout, Shakespeare in Love, the result, an Oscar, she was 26, beautiful, talented, Oscar in hand. It was every actress's dream. And in that moment, she was the dream fulfilled. But here's the twist nobody talks about, that Oscar moment, the one that should have secured her legacy. It wasn't the beginning of her glory era. It was the beginning of her downfall. Critics called her speech overly emotional. The press mocked her for being too privileged. And just like that, the praise turned into poison. One journalist wrote, "It's hard to root for someone who's already been given everything." And Gwyneth began to realize something devastating. The public loved her when she was becoming a star. But now that she was one, they didn't love her at all. Behind the scenes, her world was changing too. Her father, her biggest supporter, her director, her guide was battling cancer. In 2002, Bruce Paltrow passed away while they were on a trip to Italy for Gwyneth's 30th birthday. She didn't just lose her father. She lost the only person who made her feel normal in an industry obsessed with image. In interviews, she later admitted, "It broke me. I felt completely lost without him." Grief has a strange way of reshaping a person. For Gwyneth, it wasn't immediate, but slowly she began stepping back from acting. The spotlight that once felt warm now felt radioactive. All her life, she had been told to be perfect. Smile, pose, speak well, be likable. But perfection is a performance, and eventually every actor gets tired of pretending. If you've ever felt like you were living someone else's version of your life, you know that feeling. The ache that builds when your success doesn't feel like your truth. And so Gwyneth did what many stars wouldn't dare. She disappeared for a while. But she wasn't running away. She was quietly building the next version of herself, a version that would terrify Hollywood and piss off the public. Before the scandals, the controversies, and the backlash, there was a time Gwyneth Paltrow could do no wrong. She wasn't just an actress. She was the embodiment of 90s Hollywood royalty. And by the end of the decade, she wasn't just on the A-list, she was the list. But how did she rise so fast, and who helped pave her golden path? Gwyneth's early roles weren't random auditions. She was introduced to the acting world by none other than Steven Spielberg, a close family friend and the director who gave her one of her first on-screen roles in Hook, 1991. That's right, her first steps into film weren't through the usual grind, they were guided. By 1995, she had landed her first major role playing Brad Pitt's doomed wife in Seven. That same year, Gwyneth and Brad became Hollywood's new obsession, a golden couple that every magazine wanted on their cover. But the real spotlight came in 1998. At just 26, she starred in Shakespeare in Love, a romantic period drama that exploded into a critical and box office success. The result? She won the Academy Award for Best Actress. But here's the twist. Years later, industry insiders and even fans began to question whether her win was a result of her performance or the political chess game of Harvey Weinstein, the film's producer. It was one of the earliest hints that Gwyneth's career might not be as pure as it appeared. Imagine this. She's standing on stage at the Oscars, tears in her eyes, thanking her family, her team, and the industry. But behind the curtain, rumors were already swirling. People were calling her overrated, privileged, and too perfect. The fairy tale was already cracking at the edges, and she didn't even know it yet. To the public, Gwyneth was the clean-cut, educated, upper-class actress who represented elegance and class. But to some in the industry, she was seen as too lucky, too polished, and too connected. The girl who skipped the line. The red carpets glowed. Paparazzi flashes followed her every step. Her voice echoed through press conferences and award shows, but the whispers were getting louder behind the scenes. After Shakespeare in Love, she had everything: fame, critical acclaim, influence. But what comes after reaching the top at 26? Where do you go when you've already won Hollywood's highest honor? The truth is, success too early in Hollywood is a curse wrapped in gold. And for Gwyneth, the next phase of her career would test not just her talent, but her image. In the next chapter, we'll explore the turning point, how her film career began to decline, how the media started to turn on her, and why Gwyneth slowly stepped out of the spotlight by choice or by force.
After winning the Oscar in 1999, Gwyneth Paltrow was supposed to dominate the next decade of film. But instead, something strange happened. She began fading from the center of Hollywood's spotlight. Not overnight, but steadily and visibly. Her post-Oscar roles didn't match the hype. Duets, 2000, a musical drama she starred in with her father, bombed at the box office. Shallow Hal, 2001, drew criticism for its portrayal of body image. And while she kept working through the early 2000s, none of the projects hit the way Shakespeare in Love did. Critics said she was playing it safe. Audiences said they were losing interest. And the industry started asking a hard question. Had Gwyneth peaked too early? After that, her priorities began to change. She took fewer leading roles. She disappeared from Hollywood events. And in 2004, she quietly married Coldplay frontman Chris Martin in a private ceremony in California. No press, no red carpet, just a shift into a quieter chapter. That same year, she gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Apple. 2 years later, she had a son, Moses. Suddenly, Gwyneth wasn't showing up in theaters. She was showing up in tabloids as a mom and musician's wife. She wasn't chasing the spotlight, she was stepping back from it. In the mid-2000s, Paltrow became known less for her roles and more for her interviews, often filled with quotes that rubbed the public the wrong way. She talked about motherhood, clean living, and elite wellness in ways that critics called out of touch. And it didn't help that her lifestyle didn't reflect the average person's reality. Private chefs, nannies, detox retreats in Bali. She was no longer the relatable girl next door. She was the Hollywood elite, and people were starting to resent it. In one now infamous interview, she claimed she'd rather smoke crack than eat cheese from a tin. It went viral. Suddenly, she wasn't the talented Oscar winner anymore. She was the punchline. Late-night shows mocked her. The internet memed her. And slowly, the media flipped its tone. Film studios weren't lining up anymore. She was no longer headlining major productions. Even though she still acted occasionally, her name didn't carry the weight it once did. And when she did return, like in Iron Man 2008 as Pepper Potts, she wasn't the star. She was supporting cast in someone else's franchise. But Gwyneth wasn't done. She wasn't trying to reclaim Hollywood. She was planning her exit strategy. Behind the scenes, she was laying the foundation for something new, something bigger than acting. A personal brand, a lifestyle empire. Chapter 4 will explore the rise of Goop, the brand that changed everything. From blog to billion-dollar business, this was Gwyneth's most controversial move yet. She stepped out of Hollywood and walked straight into a health and wellness empire the world had never seen before. While the world was still talking about Gwyneth Paltrow's movies, she was building something much bigger behind the scenes. A simple newsletter, a strange name, Goop. And at first, no one took it seriously, not even Hollywood. In 2008, Goop started as a weekly email. She shared recipes, travel tips, and wellness routines. It was casual, personal, and very Gwyneth. The name? Random, really. She just liked the double O's like Google or Yahoo.
I had no idea what I was doing, and I went to go see my friend Peter Arnell, and he was like, this is a good idea, and I think you could do this really well, and I said, I just don't know what to call it. And he said, I know what you should call it. You should call it Goop. And I was like, that's terrible. That's awful.
How did he come up with it, and why? Why did he?
Because he said it's my initials.
Yes.
With 2 O's in the middle.
Yeah.
And he said all big internet companies have 2 O's. Yahoo and Facebook, and there was like a whole bunch at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
But to outsiders, it sounded pretentious. The press called it vapid. People rolled their eyes. Who was this actress giving health advice? But Gwyneth was committed. She wasn't just writing blog posts. She was turning herself into a lifestyle guru. Soon, Goop became a full website, then a brand, then a store, then a movement. But the backlash was brutal. She recommended $200 face creams, talked about conscious uncoupling when she divorced Chris Martin in 2014, and promoted treatments like jade eggs for vaginal health. Yes, seriously. The internet exploded with criticism. Doctors said it was dangerous. Celebrities mocked her. Memes tore her apart. But guess what? Goop kept growing. In fact, the controversy helped it grow. The more people laughed, the more curious others became. She launched skincare lines, fashion collabs, and wellness products. She hosted wellness summits, Goop podcast episodes, and even a Netflix series. Every time people said, this is ridiculous, she made more money. Goop became more than a blog. It became a luxury wellness empire. By 2020, Goop was valued at $250 million. Gwyneth Paltrow, once mocked for her roles, was now a powerful CEO. She wasn't just selling candles and cookbooks. She was selling a lifestyle that millions of women aspired to. But here's the truth. Goop didn't just sell products. It sold identity. Gwyneth offered something Hollywood never did: control. She wasn't playing someone else's character. She was playing herself and profiting from it. And despite all the hate, despite being called out of touch, dangerous, or even delusional, she built a brand so strong that even her critics couldn't ignore it. To some, she became a pioneer, a woman carving out a new lane outside of Hollywood. To others, she was still a symbol of privilege, selling overpriced nonsense. But to Gwyneth, she had already won. In Chapter 5, we'll explore how Gwyneth used her name, her mistakes, and her public image to do something most celebrities fail at. She survived cancellation and came out richer, louder, and more powerful than ever before. The question now is, how far can she go? By now, Gwyneth Paltrow had been called everything. Out of touch. A fraud. A walking satire of rich white wellness. But one thing she was never called: finished. Despite the mockery, despite the scandals, Gwyneth refused to disappear. Instead, she kept showing up on red carpets, on podcasts, in memes, even in court. Around 2016, the hate reached its peak. Doctors slammed Goop's health claims. Headlines screamed, "Gwyneth Paltrow is gaslighting women." Social media roasted her endlessly. Even Saturday Night Live mocked Goop with parody sketches. Her team got sued over some product claims. A settlement was reached. Goop paid $145,000 for false advertising. For most celebrities, that would be the end. One wrong move, and they vanish. But not Gwyneth. Gwyneth had learned something powerful. In the age of the internet, outrage is currency. Every time people dragged her name, her brand trended. Every time a doctor disapproved, her sales spiked. She didn't fight the noise. She used it. Then came 2020. Goop landed a Netflix series, The Goop Lab. It featured bizarre experiments, psychedelic therapy, energy healing, vampire facials. Again, people called it dangerous. Again, they said she'd lost her mind. But people watched. Millions of them. And just like that, Gwyneth's audience doubled. She wasn't just an actress or entrepreneur anymore, she was a media mogul. Then in 2023, something strange happened. Gwyneth was sued over a ski accident that occurred years earlier. The man claimed she slammed into him on the slopes. He wanted $300,000. The courtroom was packed, cameras everywhere. People tuned in expecting another celebrity downfall. Instead, Gwyneth went viral, for all the right reasons. Her calm, blunt answers, her luxury courtroom outfits.
Apart, and then there was a body pressing against me, and there was a very strange grunting noise.
Sanderson claims Paltrow is the one who slammed into him.
Never been hit that hard, and I'm flying. I'm absolutely flying.
Paltrow remained quiet as she walked into court this morning.
Good looks today, Gwyneth.
Her conservative courtroom style has been making headlines every day. But is it helping or hurting her case with a jury?
I think Gwyneth's outfits are actually helping her with the jury. They're all very everyday. She's not screaming celebrity through her outfits, and that's because she's refraining from color, she's refraining from glamour. Everything is very easy, very effortless.
The trial is taking place in Park City, Utah, not far from the Sundance ski resort.
Her final line to the man after winning the case. I wish you well.
Flip out before.
Yes, everyone remain seated while the parties leave.
I'm going to make a quick statement. Ms. Paltrow is not going to be making a statement today.
So you can make the statement outside, Mr. Owens.
I will do that.
Okay.
It became a meme, but not one mocking her, one celebrating her. Just like that, public opinion shifted. People began calling her iconic, sassy, unbothered, and somehow even relatable. Gwyneth Paltrow, the woman everyone once loved to hate, was now being rebranded by the internet itself. By now, her Hollywood career had slowed. She wasn't chasing big film roles anymore. She didn't need to. Goop was earning millions. Her personal brand was stronger than ever. And most importantly, she was in control. No director, no producer, no studio, just Gwyneth and a global audience. But the question remains, was this her final form? In Chapter 6, we explore how Gwyneth Paltrow is preparing for something even bigger. From wellness queen to political voice, tech investor, and beyond. Because for her, this might just be the beginning. By the time most actresses reach their 50s, they either disappear from the spotlight or they try desperately to hold on to it. Gwyneth Paltrow? She chose neither. She didn't chase roles. She didn't beg Hollywood for relevance. Instead, she reinvented herself again. But this time, not as a celebrity. As a thought leader, a businesswoman, and a cultural force. In her 50s, Gwyneth started taking fewer photos and making more deals. She invested in startups. She joined panels with CEOs. She became a regular voice at tech and wellness conferences. While most people still associated her with candles and jade eggs, behind the scenes, she was closing multi-million-dollar partnerships. She sat on company boards. She mentored female founders. She even hinted at launching a wellness incubator, a space where young entrepreneurs could build brands under her guidance. This wasn't just Goop anymore. This was a woman building an empire. Suddenly, Gwyneth was speaking about society, parenting, the education system, even America's broken healthcare model. She never declared herself a politician. She didn't need to. But her opinions were reaching places far beyond the red carpet. She talked about therapy, about mental health, about how women are taught to put themselves last, and people listened. Not because she was famous, but because she sounded like she'd lived it. Gwyneth's daughter, Apple, was now in her early 20s. Smart, beautiful, and completely in control of her own online identity. Instead of pushing her into the spotlight, Gwyneth gave Apple one thing most celebrity kids never get: privacy. And it worked. Apple grew up grounded. Not as Gwyneth's daughter, but as her own person. Now, there were whispers, Would Apple take over the Goop brand someday? Was this all part of a legacy play? Gwyneth never confirmed, but she never denied it either. Meanwhile, Goop wasn't just selling to elite Californians anymore. It was expanding into Europe, Asia, Africa. Gwyneth launched Goop skincare lines in international markets, partnered with luxury hotels for curated wellness retreats, collaborated with scientists to create her own supplement brand. Goop wasn't just a website anymore, it was a movement. And unlike most wellness brands, it was built on a person, someone real, flawed, and unforgettable. And then she pulled back. In 2023, Gwyneth announced she'd be taking a step away from the spotlight. No scandal, no crash, just a break. She said she wanted to enjoy her 50s, to focus on her husband, her children, her life in nature. The same woman who once dominated Hollywood, ruled wellness, and ran global events. Now just wanted to cook, write, and breathe. But don't mistake that for an ending. Because if Gwyneth Paltrow has taught us anything, it's this. She doesn't disappear. She evolves. It's 2025. Gwyneth Paltrow is no longer the daily face of Goop. She appears less frequently in interviews. No more splashy events. No more social media takeovers. To most, it looks like she's retired. But insiders know. This is the most calculated move of her career. She's testing a question that many celebrity-founded brands secretly fear. Can the brand survive without the star? Whispers had followed Apple Martin since she was a teen. Will she take over Goop? Is she the next Gwyneth? But Apple didn't seem interested in fame. She studied psychology. She wrote poetry. She kept a low profile. And that is exactly why she may be perfect for the future of Goop. In 2024, Apple appeared in a quiet blog post on the Goop website. She wrote about mental health, social pressure, and finding your voice in a world full of noise. It went viral, not because she was Gwyneth's daughter, but because it was real, raw, relatable. Suddenly, the brand didn't feel like celebrity wellness anymore. It felt human. Behind the scenes, Goop had been slowly shifting for years. They hired new executives, built out full teams in beauty, health, and media, launched a subscription app for audio content and exclusive articles without Gwyneth's name on it. By 2025, over 70% of Goop's daily operations ran without any Gwyneth involvement. It was a machine, quietly, efficiently operating as a lifestyle empire. From vitamin packs to skin tech devices, the products no longer needed Gwyneth's face. They needed results. They needed trust. And Goop had earned both. Even without Gwyneth's daily input, Goop still had its believers. People who bought every product, attended every retreat, read every article. Because Goop wasn't just about Paltrow anymore. It was about rituals that grounded people, products that promised peace in chaos, a community that believed self-care could be sacred. Goop had become what few celebrity brands ever achieve. A cult brand. The kind people defend online, recommend to their friends, and tattoo on their bodies. Of course, Goop wasn't without its critics. It never was. Some still accused it of pseudoscience, of preying on wealthy insecurities, of selling wellness at impossible prices. But that was part of the formula. Goop had always been polarizing and controversy conversation. Every time it trended on Twitter, the sales spiked. Every podcast takedown sent curious shoppers to the site. It was the Kardashian playbook, but dressed in linen and essential oils. In a rare 2025 interview, Gwyneth was asked, "Do you miss being the face of Goop?" She smiled. "I never wanted to be the face. I wanted to build something that could outlive me." That was always the plan. To shift from celebrity founder to legacy builder. To fade from the cover but remain in the margins. Goop wasn't just her company anymore. It was her philosophy, written in product form. And her greatest legacy wasn't a movie or a skincare line. It was proving that a woman can reinvent herself again, and again, and again. Until the world no longer defines her, she defines herself. In the next and final chapter, we look back at the evolution of Gwyneth Paltrow. From Oscar-winning actress to global entrepreneur, to something more powerful than fame, a woman who rewrote the rules on her own terms. By 2025, Gwyneth Paltrow was no longer just a name. She was a symbol, not of perfection, not even of fame, but of reinvention. Her life had moved through eras, each one unexpected, sometimes criticized, often mocked, yet always ahead of the curve. In Hollywood, she was the golden girl. In wellness, the disruptor. In business, the underestimated force. And now, she was something else entirely. Free. People forget evolution always comes at a price. Gwyneth paid with public ridicule, failed product launches, headlines that made her a punchline, and millions of people who decided she was too much. But she never stopped. She once said, "I'd rather be misunderstood than forgettable." And that's exactly what she became. Unforgettable. Away from the cameras, Gwyneth embraced stillness. She read, she cooked. She spent time with her children, no longer kids, but young adults discovering who they are. She traveled, not for promotion, but for joy. She turned 50, then 52, then 55, without chasing youth, but honoring the skin she was in. She hosted small dinners in Montecito, where no one asked for selfies, just deep conversations, old records, and good wine. This was not the Gwyneth on magazine covers. This was the woman she'd always wanted to become. Not a celebrity, not a brand, but a human being finally at peace. So what is Gwyneth Paltrow's real legacy? Is it the Oscar, the Goop empire, the jade egg, the candle, the endless memes? No. Her real legacy is this. She gave women permission to change, to outgrow labels, to fail publicly, to start again in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, to choose themselves. She turned aging into a celebration, turned ridicule into relevance, turned privacy into power, and in doing so, she rewrote the script for what a woman's life could look like. She doesn't need applause anymore. She doesn't need attention. Because she knows she already won. She was once the star of the story. Now she's the author. And her story is far from over. And that is the story of Gwyneth Paltrow. Not the headlines, not the gossip, not the internet myths, but the truth of a girl who became a star who became a brand, and a woman who chose to be more than all of it. In a world that tells women to shrink, she expanded. In a culture that profits from perfection, she chose honesty, messy, raw, often misunderstood honesty. And maybe that's her greatest act of all. This is Bioscoop. If this story moved you, if it made you see her, and maybe even yourself a little differently, then subscribe to Bioscoop. Because the next time your favorite celebrity's name trends online, we'll be here to show you the real reason why. True stories, real people, no filters. Click that subscribe button and join us for the next chapter.